judgment that annulled the election of the NPP parliamentary candidate for Pandai, Matthew Nyindam. We have details in the bulletin this afternoon. Also, Media General condemns soldiers' assault on Northeast Regional Correspondent Solomon Kanalue as Media House demands military investigate and punish those who are responsible. Plus, University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, of Cape Coast branch joins the counterparts from the University of Ghana and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in demanding the immediate removal of Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, and his deputy. We have details of these stories and a lot more coming to you shortly. Stay with us. Welcome to the program. Let's get into the details of the stories this afternoon. The Supreme Court, by a majority decision delivered today, has quashed the ruling of the High Court in Tamale, which annulled the parliamentary election results for the Pandai constituency. The Apex Court held that the Tamale High Court lacked jurisdiction to hear the election petition filed by the defeated NDC parliamentary candidate, as the petition was presented outside the mandatory statutory time limit. And this follows a judicial review application filed by lawyer Gary Nimako, director of the legal affairs of the NPP. Consequently, the proposed parliamentary election rerunning Pandai will not take place. The Supreme Court's decision effectively upholds the election of the NPP's Matthew Nyindam as the duly elected Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency. We'll be speaking with my colleague Lord Edwasari. He's our court correspondent shortly. But let's touch base first. In the Pandai constituency, where Christopher Mwako, he's on the beat in the area and he's joining us at the moment. Chris, thank you for joining us. Good afternoon to you. Tell us, what is the mood of constituents in Pandai? Christopher, can you hear me? Hello, Chris. Can you hear me? We'll try and reconnect with Christopher Amwako. He would join us from the Pandai constituency to tell us how the residents or the constituents in the constituency, how they are responding to this latest development by the Supreme Court. And what it means is that the election rerun in the Pandai constituency will not take place. And the decision by the court, it effectively upholds the election of the MPP's Matthew Nyindam as the duly elected Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency. Christopher Marco is joining us from the Pandai constituency now. Christopher, thank you for joining us. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Great. Talk to us. How are the constituents, how are they responding to this development?
Yes, so Crosby, they are full of excitement because since the pronouncement or the judgment was delivered earlier today, the residents in the Pandai constituency, especially supporters of Matthew Nyindam, poured themselves out on the streets of Pandai and jubilating and also singing praises to God for granting them the victory. For them, this victory is not Matthew Nyindam's victory. The victory is that of the entirety of the Pandai constituency and development, because Matthew Nyindam stands for development. So all they are looking forward to with this ruling is to see Matthew Nyindam bounce back fully to see to the development and empowerment of the people of the Pandai constituency. Let's take a listen to what some of the residents have to say.
I was part of the elections 2024. Everything went on well. You see, there's something about Ghana. If you are on top, you think you are so knowledgeable that you cannot be compared to someone. I was part of the elections. You can imagine Rashid Tanko saying that there were some polling stations that was up to 1,000, which you did not even configure your figures to check even if there are thousands. Is that the margin that we are going to give? Nothing of that sort happened. Look, this constitutional rule matter, the Supreme Court has done this. But to come to the subject of the matter, the High Court, I was there as well. In fact, I don't know what the court read, because I also learned that every decision taken by a court has to be backed by logic. So I don't know what the judge actually used. But we are happy in all. Supreme Court has quashed everything. We are happy. Look, if someone tells you that I'm afraid of elections, and I'm not afraid of elections, but the strategies people use to organize elections in this constituency is different. Because an innocent person can be damaged. 4-1. 4-1. It shows you that what happened in Tamale Court, there was some kind of fishy thing there. The judge took bribe. The Tamale Court judge took bribe. I can substantiate and say, I can say it. He took bribe. See, let me tell you. Look into my first word. When the court started, I was there from day one. We appeared in the court 19 good times. 19 good times. They were not able to substantiate their case. But this guy took money. The judge took money. And I'm telling you that the judge took money and gave them frivolous judgment. Now God has spoken. God has spoken.
Very excited because Martin has been doing very good for Panda District. Me myself, I'm not from Panda here. I'm a foreigner, being based here for a very long time. And I've been seeing very good things Martin has been doing for Panda District. So I'll vote and vote for anytime they choose Matthew each and every day.
And the speaker ruling is good. It's not 419. It's good to us. So if somebody say that the speaker is 419, the police lie. It's not 419. It's good. For the because our MP is doing what for Panda here, and we know the thing that he's doing, and we know the outing that he's doing for Panda. It's not NDC or it's not MPP. Like MPP, we like NDC, but inshallah.
My colleague Christopher Wako sampled the views of some constituents there. Let's cross over to my colleague Lord Edward Sari. He will join us from the courts to update us on what is happening at the moment and to tell us into details what happened during the day, in the early hours of the day, when before the Supreme Court made the ruling. What was the mood of the court? Who was there? Who was present? And what was the atmosphere in the courtroom like? Lord Edward is our court correspondent. He's joining us right now. Lord, thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon to you, Lord. Talk to us first. How was court today? What was the mood? Who was there? And what were the expectations before the ruling?
Well, thank you, Noble. So basically, both parties were very expectant of victory, I should say. Perhaps that you had the deputy director of the NDC, Rashid Tanko, he was convinced that the result of the ruling was going to go their way because they believe that the gazette that was compiled and then the petition that was filed were filed in time, and so there's no way that things are going to not go in their favor, especially because they had made the argument that two gazettes were filed, one in December and another in January. So they're expecting the courts to rely on the one which was compiled in January as a more recent one. Something that he's been stressing on is that the NPP, according to him, won the elections through fraudulent means and maintains that it had been rigged. But fast forward to the decision of the court, it was a 4-1 decision with Justice Parman, Gabriel Scott Parman dissenting. The other members of the bench included Justice Yonik Lendi, Justice Samuel Esiedu, Justice Amadou Tanko, and Justice Henry Kofi. These made up the 5-member panel that sat on the case. Now, following the decision of the court, the MP who has retained his position, I should say, Martin Yindam, he seemed very excited or relaxed about the decision of the court, saying that he's going to go back to Parliament as the sitting MP for Pandai. He seems to be a very faith-based or religious person because he kept thanking God for everything that has panned out so far. But the NDC, on the other hand, following the decision, they're in two pleas. The Member of Parliament for South Dai, Western Nelson Dafenpo, he rehashed or indicated that they are going to seek judicial review of the decision of the court once the full ruling is out. Now, the court indicated that ruling will be made available on February 6th. Now, Crosby, quite apart from the ruling that was given, there are other two applications before the Supreme Court. There was one that had to do with a contempt against Martin Yendam, and then another application seeking to halt or suspend the Pandai election rerun. Now, the council for the MPP, led by Gary Macron, he reviewed those applications, and then they were held as struck out. Withdrawn as struck out, and so these two were equally withdrawn and then struck out. And so this was been happening in court today. There were quite a number of reactions from constituents from Pandai who thronged the court to support their various candidates. In the end, the ones who were from the NDC were in two pleas. You could see a lot of murmuring, and could see they were very aggrieved by what had happened. In the contrary, there were several chants from the MPP quarters singing their anthems and all that.
Thank you so much, Lord Edwasari, for bringing us those updates. Let's take a listen to the reaction of the man of the moment, Matthew Ngindam, after the court's ruling.
2012, I was elected, and I served the people 2 terms. They know whom I am, and I'm serving them honestly. So unfortunately, what happened, I give glory to God. In my life, whatever happens, I think that is ordained to happen. So I'm not going to run away from what happened. But I know very well that the people gave me the mandate. And by the grace of God, God is alive. My God is alive. Yes. He will obviously speak for me one day. And he has spoken to me for today. And I'm grateful. I'm going back to Parliament to continue to serve the people. Just like my youth organizer said, we are not serving MPP people in Pandai or NDC people in Pandai or CPP. I'm serving the people of Pandai.
That's the voice of Matthew Ngindam, the Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency, who just won his case at the Supreme Court. We're bringing you more reactions and developments from this decision by the Supreme Court. But now, let's cross over to the press center, where the Ghana Journalists Association, led by the president of the association, Albert Jomfo, is engaging the media on recent attacks by security officials on journalists.
As a private citizen and journalist who lives in the area and has sparked his motto to just get some stuffs from a nearby shop, he wasn't there to discharge any official duty or assignment. And even with that, he was in the attack of his media institution, Onia TV, Onia FM. And so if the military people claims that whatever is happening is false, why did they recycle his phone? Because there were evidence preserved on the phone. And due to fear of public intimidation and public outcry, the court of public opinion attack on their barbaric art, they have to recycle the innocent or the unprovoked journalist who was just walking by as a private citizen. They have to just recycle his phone, so no information can be traced. We will await the position of the military high command. We are very much
and Solomon Kanaluwe by soldiers in Walewale. This is contained in a press release issued on January 27. And Media General's Northeast Regional Correspondent Solomon Kwame Kanaluwe was allegedly assaulted during coverage of a military exercise in the Northeast region. Management of Media General, and in the statement, noted the unwarranted assault represents a serious abuse of power and a violation of the fundamental rights guaranteed under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. The statement demanded the military high command to urgently and thoroughly investigate this incident and ensure that all personnel found culpable are identified and appropriately sanctioned in accordance with military and national laws. We're following this development and bringing you details in our subsequent bulletins. Let's do some politics now, because a former flag bearer aspirant of the NPP, Arthur Kennedy, says former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is a liability, and leaders like himself and Professor Aaron Michael Quay have failed the NPP. According to him, Saturday will make things worse. Saturday is the day the NPP is holding its presidential primaries. Now, delegates of the party, they will go to the polls to elect a presidential flag bearer for the 2028 general elections. A total of over 211,000 delegates eligible to vote in the primaries at various polling centers across the 276 constituencies nationwide. Voting will begin at 7 a.m. and then close at 2 p.m. The 5 aspirants contesting the primaries are Dr. Mahmoud Baumia Kwabneji Japan, Kennedy Ohene Japan, Dr. Brian Champon, and Dr. Yawase Aduchum. It's barely 3 days to the party's presidential primaries, and Arthur Kennedy has some concerns. He spoke with my colleague Beatrice Edu.
The professor has failed the party. They are not serious. The professor has failed the party repeatedly together with his other elders, if indeed there are elders. He tellingly says, therefore, we chose to do this early. That is precisely what the problem is. People think they didn't choose to do this early to help the party. They did that to help to the grassroots to ask for accountability, so that those who served well may be re-elected and those who didn't could be weeded out, so that we do the traditional approach before coming to the flag bearership. This was done quickly because it was considered that it would favor somebody. And by the way, the MPP seem to be completely oblivious to the fact that there are certain leaders who have become significant liabilities, including Professor Okwe, mildly, and the former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. If they don't know, whenever you put him in front of the public, you lose votes because of the anger resulting from his disastrous management of the country and the party.
The voice of Dr. Kwabena Arthur Kennedy there. Now, to help us unpack what this means for the NPP and its internal cohesion in the 2028 race, we are joined by senior researcher at the Kumasi Technical University, Professor Smart Sapple. Prof, good afternoon to you. Thank you. Dr. Arthur Kennedy describes former President Akufo-Addo as a liability to the NPP. How significant is this claim coming from within the party and then going into an all-important primaries on Saturday?
Well, Crosby, good afternoon, and a very good afternoon to our cherished listeners. I think the message is as good as the messenger, and to the many rank and file of the NPP, the senior man, Dr. Arthur Kennedy, isn't largely part of them. They have the pride of being the pioneers of the NPP, but they've largely missing out and deliberately chosen to stay out of the party struggles over the years. I think for the last time Dr. Arthur Kennedy actively participated in the party activities was after the 2007 flag bearership race, where he got single one. I think subsequently he has left the country and he sends his message across the print and written media, mostly antagonistic of the party's efforts. So yes, what he has said perhaps may be true to him. His position in the party currently doesn't make a statement too much of a weight. I think all well-meaning MPP persons will focus on the process already underway and will not let such comments disrupt them.
Prof, looking at the 5 aspirants, who stands to gain or lose the most from this kind of internal criticism?
Well, the delegates at this time have their minds made up, and I'm not sure such comments will inure negatively or positively to the benefit of any of the 5 contenders. They should be focused on their campaign and try and close their ranks 2 days towards election, and not seek to gain or lose from comments like that.
Prof, thank you so much for your time. Professor Smart Sapon is a researcher speaking with us there. We're now joined by the Executive Director of the African Center for Security and Counterterrorism, Emmanuel Quoting, to assess whether these developments pose any security risk before, during, or after the primaries of the NPP. Mr. Quoting, thank you for joining us. From a security standpoint, how do internal party tensions ahead of primaries, how do they typically affect the voting environment?
Thank you for having me. A very good afternoon to our cherished listener. In fact, if you look at the history of internal presidential primaries, both in the NPP and the NDC, there are always 3 things: the internal party security dynamics. And if you look at these very elections and the reference, there are very distinct security challenges that require careful analysis and proactive management. Having said that, given what has gone on over the period, it sincerely leads to disinformation, and that can impact any of the candidates depending on the dynamics. So I believe that the Election Management Committee of the party, led by Honorable former Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joe Wise, they must be proactive and liaise with the Ghana Police Service to arrest the situation. The activities of the Ghana Police Service should not be intrusive. They should just maintain the general dynamics of security and allow party structures to work to arrest the situation. Unfortunately, where we have gotten to, it is a little too late to avert any of the challenges we are facing, because the party leadership slept on it for far too long. You see the peace pact they signed 10 days to election. It was quite belated. They should have done this about 3-4 months earlier and put a code of conduct therein and make sure that any of the 5 aspirants who go against the code, the person was severely dealt with under whatever sanctions they will put under the code. But unfortunately, they were left a full field to do whatever they want. And even after the code of conduct was signed, you saw how most of the people, especially the aspirants themselves, spoke. But the greater danger to all of it is NPP Rixon being a proxy to deeper identity conflict. Because if the primaries, as we are seeing it, is framed along ethnic and regional lines, particularly given the historical North-South dynamics within Ghanaian politics, it could trigger broader social tension. And that is what, unfortunately, we are witnessing. So, by and large, we have to look at the mitigating strategy.
Okay.
And I think the party should collaborate, like I mentioned, with the police. Another thing the party needs to do is to establish clear dispute resolution mechanism before the primaries, if that is not already done.
Right.
And there must be transparent verification system for delegates, such that the process will be transparent, so that if any of the candidate emerges, that others will be, willing to come along.
Right.
So finally, the security challenge, if you look at it critically and fundamentally, is ensuring that the process strengthens rather than fractures the MPP.
Okay.
Because a divided opposition serves no person's interest except the governing party. And I'm sure NDC will be smiling at this time.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Coating. We're grateful for your time. Emmanuel Coating is the Executive Director of the African Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism speaking there. That's it for the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. My name is Noble Crosby Annan. Business News is up next with Michael Obodu. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, mobile money transactions hit record 518 billion cedis as digital payments cement dominance in Ghana's financial system, and Ghana's public debt stock declines to 644 billion cedis amid fiscal consolidation. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you for staying with us. Straight into our top story. And mobile money transactions in Ghana surged to an all-time monthly high of 518.4 billion cedis in December 2025, underscoring the growing dominance of digital payments in the financial system. The latest data from the Bank of Ghana's Summary of Economic and Financial Data shows that festive season spending, wider adoption of mobile wallets, and an expanding agent network continue to drive strong growth in electronic payments. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
The latest Bank of Ghana Summary of Economic and Financial Data revealed that the surge was driven largely by increased consumer spending during the festive season, alongside the continued expansion of mobile money services across the country. Transaction volumes climbed to 982 million in December, up from 892 million in November, reflecting both higher spending levels and the growing use of digital payment channels in Ghana. The data also showed a sharp rise in active mobile money accounts, which increased to 26.7 million compared to 25.5 million in previous months. Meanwhile, registered mobile money accounts rose to 80.5 million, highlighting ongoing gains by financial inclusion. The mobile money agent network expanded further, with 491,000 active agents recorded nationwide by the end of the year. At the same time, balances held in mobile money wallets increased to 39.6 billion Ghana cedis, the highest level recorded in 2025, suggesting stronger liquidity and growing confidence in mobile wallets as a store of value. Interable mobile money transactions also strengthened, with values rising to 5.8 billion Ghana cedis, up from 4.9 billion Ghana cedis in November, supported by increased cross-network transfers during the holiday period. By construct, traditional payment instruments remained far behind, with check transactions amounting to 37.3 billion Ghana cedis, while Ghana Interbank Payments and Settlement Systems recorded 73.3 billion Ghana cedis in transaction value for the month. Overall, the Bank of Ghana data confirms mobile money position as the backbone of Ghana's retail payment systems, with growth expected to continue in 2026.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Ghana's total public debt stock witnessed a notable decline of approximately 40 billion cedis between September and November 2025, settling at 644.6 billion cedis. According to the latest data from the Bank of Ghana, this figure represents roughly 45.5% of the nation's gross domestic product, marking a significant milestone in the government's ongoing debt sustainability efforts. The following 3 Business News report has the details.
The reduction in Ghana's public debt by 40 billion cedis between September and November 2025 to 644.6 billion cedis follows a year characterized by fluctuations in the debt stock. While the debt trended upward during the third quarter, the November figures highlight a successful reversal, largely attributed to effective fiscal management and favorable valuation effect. In dollar terms, the total public debt stood at $57.2 billion in November 2025. This is a slight decrease from the $57.8 billion recorded in October, though it remains higher than the $55.1 billion reported in September. Analysts attribute this shift to valuation effect triggered by movements in the exchange rate, with impact the local CD equivalent of external obligations. The debt component as of November 2025 shows external debt stood at $29.3 billion, accounting for 23.3% of GDP. Domestic debt dropped to 314.5 billion cedis, approximately 22.2% of GDP, down from 317.6 billion cedis in September. Government recorded a fiscal deficit of 1.4% of GDP by the end of November 2025. The primary balance, a key indicator of a country's ability to service its debt without further borrowing, remained in a surplus of 2.8% of GDP. The focus should remain on maintaining the primary surplus to ensure long-term stability and further reduce the debt to GDP ratio.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has moved to reassure investors about the safety of green bonds despite lingering doubts from the domestic debt exchange program. SEC says green bonds will be safe even as memories of the debt exchange continue to weigh heavily on investor confidence.
The program, introduced to restructure government debt, saw many Ghanaians lose significant portions of their savings, challenging the long-held belief that government-backed investments are risk-free. Years later, the domestic bond market is still struggling to recover. Against this backdrop, the SEC is working with the International Finance Corporation to introduce green bonds into Ghana's capital market. Globally, green bonds have grown into a $1 trillion market, with countries like Nigeria and South Africa already issuing them.
This one is basically for the real sector, the corporate, not for government. So we can assure you that any corporate body that will want to issue the bond, we would do our work to ensure that the investor's interest is protected, so that when that bond is issued, the bond will trade well on the Ghana Stock Exchange, the value of the bond will grow, the price will go up, so that tomorrow or in future, if you want to dispose of that bond, you make your capital gain. And so no fears for that. That is why SEC is there to protect the interests of the investor.
Green bonds raise capital for projects with environmental benefits, from renewable energy to clean transport. Experts say they could help Ghana mobilize new revenue streams, restore trust in government-backed securities, and create much-needed jobs.
In Ghana only, what we have identified, and this is a report that is backed in 2021, so those numbers might have substantially changed, especially the improvement in terms of macroeconomic stability in the country. We have identified up to 7.4 billion in terms of potential for green and social bonds in Ghana.
If successful, analysts believe green bonds could mark a turning point, helping Ghana recover from the debt exchange and transition towards a greener economy.